Welcome, dear family members. You are watching Issues at Hand on Church of Uganda Family TV. My name is Bruno. Edgard, welcome to this morning's edition. Now, as always, Issues at Hand is proudly brought to you by Protea Hotel Entebbe. Yes, you have come from the weekend. Another week has started, but Protea Hotel Entebbe still remains a place to be if you want different amenities, whether it's hall rooms, whether it's hotel rooms, whether it's the gym, whether it's a spa, whether it's the lakeside, whether it's a swimming pool. This is the place for you. So call the number on your screen and make a reservation and booking today. Now, on Issues at Hand today, we have a very interesting discussion, and that's on the plight of medical interns. Yes, we brought you a story last week about how medical interns were making their way to Parliament, and their procession to Parliament was sorted by Uganda police. And why? Because of things like unpaid allowances, unpaid salaries, and as well as lack of deployment by the Ministry of Health. And so these are the issues that we are talking about today. And with me to tackle these issues, I have Miss Nankya Shanitah, who is a pre-intern nurse, and she's part of the Federation of Uganda Medical Interns. I also have a Dr. Nalukwago Judith, who is also a medical intern doctor and also part of the Federation of Uganda Medical Interns. Welcome to Issues at Hand this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Now let's start at the Federation, because we also want to know the role that the Federation has got to play in the plight of medical interns here in Uganda. So what does the Federation of Uganda Medical Interns do?
The Federation of Uganda Medical Interns is a leadership body that unites all medical interns. You know, medical interns were in sections. They are nurses, they are midwives, they are doctors including medical doctors and dentists, and then they are pharmacists. But then that federation unites all of us because we are all doing the same thing, internship, and it's for 1 year. So those, what are the responsibilities of Federation for Uganda Medical Interns? Representation. First, uniting us, then representation, because when you're a big group of people, right now for us we are like 1,600. You all can't represent yourself. You need a small group of people to represent you in case of anything. When we have these issues of like salary discrepancies, when we have issues of deployment, there will be a small group of people to go and represent us. For example, we also have professional bodies ahead of us, above us. We have Uganda Medical Association, which is the one that governs medical doctors. Then we have the Union of Nurses. We have that one of pharmacists. So these people represent us on those bodies. That is why that body of Federation for Uganda Medical Interns has a representation of nurses, it has a representation of doctors, it has a representation of pharmacists and midwives, because they have to represent us on the other bigger bodies I've mentioned. On top of that, they also represent us to the rest of society. When we have issues like this, the rest of the society has to know what is happening within us, because like you've been hearing, we provide 70% of the labor force in hospitals. So if we have problems, the rest of society has to know that our doctors have problems, and how can the society come in to help us. I think I'll stop there, and my colleague will continue to give some of the other roles.
Yes, so the other roles of the Federation, as she has said, it's a body that unites all of us. So before I go any further, who is a medical intern? So a medical intern is someone who has completed their medical course from a recognized institution, and they have their papers. They're just waiting for that 1 year training, that is the internship. So a medical intern is someone who has finished and then they are deployed to go for that 1 year training from any facility, health center, be it a government hospital, be it private, not for profit, like we have Mengo, we have Lubaga, all those facilities, we have medical interns there. So when you become a medical intern, you then become a member of the federation. The federation has leaders, and it is these leaders that are supposed to advocate for the rights of their people. So the leaders are voted by these very interns to go and speak for them. For example, like these issues we are having of delayed deployment, we shall have our leaders write letters, go for press conferences, go for TV shows like this one to advocate and say this is what we are going through. We need the government to intervene. We need this and this. such that the people finish the 1 year of internship, at least when it's a good year, and we've gained the training, yes, but we've not suffered a lot. So basically it's to advocate. Thank you.
Indeed, so and I shall get into the question of the leadership later on. But last year, medical interns had an industrial action. This year we have seen a demonstration from medical interns, and I know many of us might have watched it in the news, but I'd like to hear it from the both of you. What is going on? Why is it that medical interns feel so aggrieved by the Ministry of Health?
My challenge is with the Ministry of Health and the systems of the country. When you mentioned that there was a strike last year and there is also a strike this year, that was not the first time, and this is not the second time. Medical interns have been demonstrating for the past 11 years consecutively. So that means it's not the problem of the medical interns, it's the problem of the system that governs them. And that comes from the Ministry of Health and the government at large. Because we are keeping on having the same problems, in, out, in, out. You talk about the problem when you're starting internship, they pseudo-solve it, they solve it for the moment, then the next year it comes back, or within the middle of the internship it's back. They don't have a lasting solution to the problems we have. So that is why you see every other year there are medical interns demonstrating. And most of the cases it's about welfare of the medical interns. It's about deployment of the medical interns. For example, maybe I'll speak for deployment. She will talk about the welfare. About medical interns, imagine, like we said, we are not students. We are doctors, we finished. Right now I'm a doctor. If I was a student, I wouldn't be called a doctor. Right now I'm a doctor, I've studied my course for 5 years. All of you know that for us, our cohort, we've been affected by COVID, so we've literally studied for 6 years. Now we have this medical internship. Medical internship is done all over the world. It's not only us who do it. When you finish your 5 years, you go into a supervisory training. Like they're making your skills better. They're sharpening the iron. You're already sharp, but they're making it sharper to make sure it is very adequate for the people out there. So during this time, we are supervised, but not. The supervision is not so much like what we had in school, because we are doctors now, we know what we are doing, but they give us, it's called participatory supervision, and they are helping us, like I said, to sharpen our tools. But then remember, we graduated some time ago. Most of us graduated a long time ago. Like some people have spent 8 months home. Some people have so far spent 1 year home. They are seated waiting, because this medical internship is a must. It is provided for by the Uganda, for us doctors, it's provided for by Uganda Medical and Dental Practitioners Act. It's a must, you have to do it. So you have to wait when the ministry announces for you to go for the internship. People have been seated home for a whole year, and they are waiting for this internship, because if you do not do it, you don't get a medical license. For you to work as a doctor anywhere you want, you must have a medical license. So if you don't do internship, you're not privy to that medical license. So we are seated at home. Imagine I've studied my course, a good course, I can presume. It's a very good course. And I'm seated home for a whole year. I'm not earning. How do they expect that we are living? We are feeding. We are doing all these things, because some of us are old. Some of our colleagues have children they're taking care of, and you're making these people sit at home. And then when the time is supposed for us to be deployed, so that we go and work, and you tell us, you know what, we are not ready, we are still sorting some issues. Can you imagine telling me, who has sat down for a whole year, that we are not yet ready? How do you expect me to react? How do you expect me to continue feeding myself? Remember, I cannot transition. If at least I had a way of transitioning into my next life of being a licensed doctor, I would not mind about internship, but I am tied down. So it's the system that is letting us down. You know, you come with a lot of vigor that you're trusting the system, and then the system lets you down. So it's about Ministry of Health organizing themselves, the government organizing themselves, so that they be consistent in whatever they promise. If they promise this year deployment will be in August, let it be in August. Not reach August and tell us, you know what, we need 3 more months to organize for you. It's not fair for someone who has sat home for a whole month. Yes.
Indeed.
So about the welfare includes our allowances, our accommodation, and the way we live throughout that 1 year of internship. So we have had instances, as you've said, people last year striked, even this year we are demonstrating, and the issues seem similar. Last year people were demonstrating because of delayed allowances and also because of the allowance discrepancies. So we had the president give a directive that medical interns, all of them, have to get half the pay of their seniors. But that one has not been implemented, as we all know. We know that medical doctors get 5.4 million. Then we have the pharmacists also get 5.4. The medical doctors, I mean the doctors and then the dental surgeons. We have the nurses who get 4.4 million. So what do I mean? Here we are supposed to get half the pay of our seniors. The medical doctors are supposed to get 2.7, the pharmacists 2.7, and also the nurses are supposed to get 2.2. But apparently, as I speak now, the previous cohort, the nurses and the midwives have been getting 1.5. That is gross, and net comes to 1 million, which is not what was agreed on in the collective bargaining agreement. Even the doctors themselves and the pharmacists are still getting. The doctors, for them, they get 2.5, and then the pharmacists are just getting 2 million. So this money, most of us look at it as luxury, as what, but remember, during that 1 year of internship, we usually don't get time to part-time. You're at the hospital almost 24/7. Whenever there is need, they will just call you and you have to be at the station, unless you want to redo your internship. So that allowance is basically to cater for our food, to cater for our accommodation. Yes, there are some hospitals that offer accommodation, but a few of them can accommodate all of us. Like she has said, we are over 1,600 medical interns, the prospective ones, us who are waiting. So if you tell us that you've not planned for us, you don't have the allowances to give us, to cater for us during that period, how do you expect us to live? Do they want people to start extorting patients? That is not good. It's not what we want. A hungry doctor or a hungry nurse is good for your health, because they will end up even doing things that are not right. You know, their mental health is not stable. Last night he or she didn't eat. Even today they are just like, it's not good. So for us, our plea to the government is to always prioritize the medical interns. We all know they provide 70% of the services in these facilities. So if the government really cares about its people, like the well-being of the common man, because I know in these hospitals we don't have mainly ministers, we have those other people, the poor are the ones who come to these facilities to get the services. So if they really want the welfare of the people they are leading, they should start prioritizing us. They had a full year when our previous cohort was in internship. They would have planned and said, this year how many people, you can make a survey around all the medical schools and be sure that this is the number that is coming. So these are the people that we should plan for. Instead of us reaching third when people expect to be deployed, and then you start telling Ministry of Health doesn't have finances to cater for you. Medical interns, people have been home for almost a full year, and they are waiting for this 1 year to finish their internship and get the licenses to start practicing. So it's really not fair for them to delay our deployment. It is really not fair for us to always have delayed allowances, and it is also really not fair for us to always get not the rightful allowances. 1M is not enough to facilitate you for all that time. You have to move, you have to eat, you get sick also, and you have to buy some medicines that may not be in the government facilities. So we really need them to prioritize us, give us the rightful allowances as per the presidential directive, such that we can be able to care for these people when our hearts are at risk. We all came into these professions when we really want to. She wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a nurse. I want to serve my nation. It's not that we don't want to serve, we really want to serve, we are very ready. But the systems are letting us down. Thank you so much.
Maybe, Bruno, to add on, to put it into perspective, to drive my Nankya's point home, you see, when they're deploying us, for example, if you've grown up in Masaka, it doesn't mean they're going to deploy you in Masaka, because someone can be like, but you can stay at your homes as you're working in these hospitals, you don't need that money. Because these people out there expect doctors to work for nothing. How do you expect them to pay for their welfare if they're working for nothing? Anyway, to put it into perspective,
Hippocratic oath.
to put it into perspective, when, for example, you can be, maybe you grew up in Masaka, you studied in Masaka, and they deploy you in Gulu. In Gulu, you don't know anyone there, you don't have a relative there. So you have to accommodate yourself. Like she said, there are very few hospitals, like in Zambia, probably, that accommodate around 10 people. And we are 1,600. There are very, very few people. So you might find that people can be accommodated around like 60 out of all of us. So the rest of us have to accommodate ourselves. So if I go to Gulu and you're not giving me anything, how am I going to accommodate myself? How am I going to feed myself? How am I going to transport myself? And remember, I have to be in hospital. Most cases, you can work a shift of 24 hours. So where am I going to get the extra money that is going to accommodate me? Do you want me to kill patients because I'm hungry? Do you want me to, for example, if I go and sleep in a slum, do you want me to be raped? We had those cases before.
Actually,
there were medical interns that were raped because by that time the government allowance was 750 and they had no good housing to stay in. So we don't want to go back to that. We're just demanding, what we are demanding for is actually very low to what other medical doctors in other countries have. So we're just saying, you know what, for the good of the passion, for the passion we have for medicine, give us that little and we shall be able to work for you. But then you cannot give the bare minimum. That is what is really challenging us at the moment.
And you expect someone to be there 24/7.
Exactly.
And of course, the question that is begging is what the ministry's response has been to this, because like you said, this is not the first time this is happening, so I'm sure the Ministry of Health has been keeping abreast with what is happening. So what has the Ministry of Health said? And one, are you having negotiations or discussions with the Ministry of Health, and what are they saying in response to what the medical interns are fighting for?
The Ministry of Health is, the minister came out last week but one, and she said the ministry has no money to cater for us. Though, then the technocrats in the Ministry of Health do not want to commit themselves, because the minister is a political head, but they are technocrats. And the ones who give these letters, the ones who are deployers, they have not written to us officially. The only letter they wrote, they gave it to hospital directors that we shall not be able to start internship because there are some issues they are sorting. But the political head came out and said they don't have money. So probably those are issues they are sorting. We have tried to engage. We've written letters. I think many of them you've seen. We've written letters. We've written petitions. But they're not responding to any of them. They're just giving us corridor responses when we go there physically that we don't have money. We are trying to sort to see where to get money from. Like, we are just hurt as people that they cannot organize themselves to have these things sorted before like she said, they honestly had a whole year to make sure they prioritize and budget and plan for us to start in April. Then why are they playing games at the last moment?
Yeah, and then the other fact is that I think we are stakeholders in this.
Yes.
Because we are the people going for the internship. So
Yes.
Our cry is, and what makes me really feel so sad is the fact that even that letter that was written to the hospital directors, we just got to know of it like through those people who had friends with some hospital directors. That's how it linked to the medical interns. So if it hadn't been through those people, then most of us by now we would have been there without knowing. They gave us 2 weeks, and the weeks elapsed last week. So right now, there is nothing like a communication. So we want them to engage us because we are very willing to sit on a round table and discuss these matters. We've written to them. Let them come out, maybe write to us, call us for meetings. We are very ready. We go and discuss these matters and also give them some ideas. Yes, we might seem younger than them, but we might be having some way forwards on how this issue can be solved. But it really hurts when one of the stakeholders is just taken like barely. You're not even supposed to be in those discussions. Only here are rumors. When you go to ask someone, no, we don't have money, this issue is beyond me, I cannot talk about it. Then the minister comes out, we don't have money. Then it's really confusing. And that's why you will see people on streets once again. We don't want to do that, but we shall be forced to.
Now, talking about that, as a medical interns, you went out to make your requests known, and the medical interns who were demonstrating decided to walk to the parliament to deliver a petition to the speaker, and that demonstration was unfortunately cracked down by Uganda police, and with a bit of violence, not so much, but a bit of violence. What is your take on what happened that day? And given the history that of the industrial actions that the medical interns have put so far, do you think these demonstrations or these industrial actions have any force, because they don't seem to be moving government? If it's been 11 years of the same actions and the government is not doing anything to change the situation, what then do you think is the best way forward to get government to change what is happening to interns all over Uganda?
Let me start with the last question. I think it's about the high turnover. Like we said, every year medical interns change. So government or stroke Ministry of Health takes these things for granted. When you say that demonstrations are going to push these people, they have. Because whenever there's a demonstration, they work on that challenge there and then. They work on it and they try to solve that load. Until the next load. So the challenge is about the turnover. If we were going to be there for 5 years, of course, I don't think the problems will be recurrent. You cannot double play the same people twice. So it's about the turnover, that they do it to these people, then they're like, maybe the other ones will not do anything about it. And then also then they strike. So these demonstrations have yielded, and we are going for one. We're going for another one. We're about to call for another one. And it's not called by us, it's called by Uganda Medical Association, because our mother body is Uganda Medical Association, the Nurses Union, and the pharmacists. And you saw they held a press conference with us, and they also put out their grievances. So if they don't work on these issues, we shall still go back. We are ashamed to do what we are doing, because we as medical doctors, we are very professional, but we've been pushed between a wall and a hard place, a rock and a hard place. So that is what we have to do. Then what police did was very regrettable. It was very unfortunate. We expect, because for us, we are not violent people. A march, we just walked to parliament. We didn't expect police to behave that way. But regardless, we've been seeing them doing so much of that to other people when they are trying to hold a demonstration. So it was not new, we expected it. And if we go for another demonstration, we are expecting it. So we are ready. We are ready. They should know that we are ready. We are expecting it, but we shall not stop. We shall still go there. So yes, that is what I can say.
All right. And that march to parliament was because the people who were carrying out the demonstration at that time were taking a petition to the Speaker of Parliament. For those of us who are not aware what was included in that petition, what would you like Parliament to do to help in this situation? Okay,
so what was included in that petition was one, we were requesting the Parliament to add the Ministry of Health, the supplementary budget they're asking for, to be able to cater for our allowances and our welfare. Two, we were requesting it to, at the same time, engage the Ministry of Health such that they can put out a clear date for our deployment, for our internship, such that we can be able to start. Yes, those were the issues. Then the other one was about the allowance discrepancies. Of course, this has been there now for 2 years, and we know people have talked and talked about it, but it has not yet been corrected. On 9th of December, that is 2022, the petition about the allowance discrepancies was still in Parliament, and it was talked about, and they decided that maybe in this new financial year people would get their rightful allowances. But us hearing the minister come out and say that, you know what, we don't have money to cater for your welfare. So it puts us at, we get scared. And we are like, what was passed in Parliament, will it be implemented in this coming year as we start our internship? So those were our prayers, and we request the Parliament to take them serious. Thank you.
And so apart from that, now what is the way forward? How can we reach that point where the grievances that you have are answered, especially by the Ministry of Health and other stakeholders? What's the next way forward?
Like we said, we've tried to engage them. We've written letters. There is not been a response at the moment, and I've told you all the responses we are getting are corridor responses, not official responses. These people are not committing themselves to tell us when are we starting or what their official position at the moment is. So they are leaving us in a place of anxiety, a place of doubt. We don't know what is going on. So the next steps are going to be taken as we are having a meeting today evening. We are going to decide on the next step of action if diplomacy has failed, because I don't believe that if I come out and I am aggrieved and I talk to you as my partner in whatever we are doing and you just keep quiet about it, it looks like first you're taking me for granted, two, you're not respecting the position where I come from. So we have to take the next steps, and trust me, the next steps are coming. We are going to discuss. Of course, many medical interns are ready for strike. They want a demonstration, and we are going to discuss and see a way forward on how to handle this situation.
Indeed, and we hope this situation shall come to an end, because one thing we cannot underestimate and understate is the vital importance of medical interns to our health sector here in Uganda. Actually, I was speaking to a doctor who is in private practice, and he was telling me, you know, the thing about these government hospitals, these public facilities, is that they are run, the people who are doing the work and the medical interns, the doctors, are just coming as consultants. So this is very important to get this over the line. But on that, what do you have to say? One, is that true? And two, what do you have to say on that? The fact that the medical interns are doing most of the work, and the senior officers may, in some cases, allegedly, may be seemingly not following up with their duties.
Okay, so about that, yes, it is true. The medical interns do most of the work in those hospitals, and the seniors are always there to supervise these juniors. It's not that they don't do their work. They are there to supervise these juniors. But the problem is the seniors that are employed by the government are actually very few. That's why you say that you see medical interns being so many compared to the seniors in those hospitals, because our government is not able to employ most of these people. So the few that they employ are the ones that are always there to supervise us, to see what we are doing, if it's the right one. Whenever there is need for them to advise us, give us some information, they are the people we reach out to. But they are also always there. The problem is that the very few numbers of the seniors that are employed.
And maybe to emphasize, it's false. It's not true that these consultants are not in hospitals. They are actually there. But if you find there are 3 in a hospital, how much, do you know how much workload, how much patients are in a hospital? There are so many. These 3 consultants cannot handle all those patients. That is why the medical interns, you'll find that hospital has around 20-30 medical interns. Of course, you don't, the ratio of 20 to 3, the medical interns are much more. So that means they're going to provide the bigger workload of the sector. So they're always there. Their work is to supervise us and also to handle cases we cannot handle, because there are cases we can't handle at our level. So that's why they are consultants, they're specialists, they have specialized in particular areas. So once I can't handle, I refer to them. That is their role. Their role is not to like you see in any structure or even of government, there are people at higher places, then it's a structure, it's a hierarchy, it comes from the top ranking to the lower ranking. I cannot do, me who is a lower ranking junior official, I cannot do less work than my senior. Honestly, I have to do most of the work. So for us, we don't mind doing the work. It actually helps us to be better, but let them cater for our welfare. We are okay with doing the work.
Now on, and please, of course, you are advocating and letting us know how the system works, because if there's one thing we have seen with the government so far, especially this financial year, is that government has had a lot of financial issues. A lot of sectors, not just the health sector, but others are greatly underfunded. And like you said, one of the things you're pushing for is a supplementary budget. But are there other alternatives, especially when it comes to deployment, even in places like the private sector, so that medical interns can do their internship and get the necessary training needed?
The options are have actually been provided. Like in the previous press conference that happened on Tuesday, it was stated very clearly that Uganda Medical Association has written over and over to this Ministry of Finance and giving them those options. But as she has said, they barely respond. They will look at the letter and just take it for granted. So the options have always been provided, but I think it hasn't been implemented.
What are some of these options?
Like they have always given them an option of bringing on board these private not-for-profit hospitals that are not government, but then are at some standard and they can cater for these interns. But then we still see that a few of them, like not more than 5 PNFPs are on board for these medical interns. So this means that our Ministry of Health needs to now go back and sit on a round table. Like I said, let them bring all the relevant stakeholders, let them bring UMA, the nurses union, let them bring the pre-interns and discuss the way forward. All these are just still in suggestions that people see like maybe we can do this, we can do this, we can do this, but they haven't yet implemented. Let them call us, we go on a round table, we give them all these suggestions. If writing has failed, I think we can now sit together on a round table and speak about them and see what works for us best. Thank you.
Indeed, and that's very important that we find solutions, many solutions to the same problem, because like I said, government is grappling with a lot. And for example, when it comes to deployment, Uganda has, the Uganda government has a lot of teachers who have been trained, but they have nowhere to go because they are not being deployed. And the Ministry of Education came out and said that they're having issues deploying teachers as well. So it's an overarching issue when it comes to Uganda and when it comes to every sector here in Uganda. So on that note, when it comes to on allowances, how many months have gone by or years? You never know. Have gone by without these allowances being paid to interns. And what would you like to see the Ministry of Health do and the stakeholders when it comes to ensuring that they clear that backlog, especially in light of what's happening in our economy today?
So what really is happening, like we said, what happens is when the lot comes, also to the last lot that left hospitals, they were not paid their last month because ministry says they don't have money. But what happens once they deploy you, they can take like 3-4 months without paying you. First, we are not yet deployed. So our first issue is deployment. We have sat home for so long, almost years. So we want to be put into the field and deployed. So what happens when they deploy you? You find that Ministry of Health will take like 4 months when they have not paid you. And then you have to first do a sit-down strike, then they pay you. Like, it's even funny that we run cat and mouse games with the ministry. Like, how do you deploy people? For 4 months, you're not paying them, and then they have to first do a sit-down strike, and then you pay them. It's even ridiculous. Anyway, the funny bit is, we are in a country that has a poor patient-to-doctor ratio, and then we have these doctors seated at home. Any country would be very happy that they have doctors and they would be deploying them. But then a country with this poor doctor-to-patient ratio is not deploying their doctors. And then the other thing is, it's a matter of priorities. We said Ministry of Health doesn't have money, but then we are hearing government dishing out money in different areas, which are not even very important or very critical. And here there's a health sector that's very important. It's about priorities. And also planning. It's about planning, it's about making priorities. Once they plan, once they prioritize what they need to do, everything will be sorted. UMA gave them a lasting solution. You know, when they're making budget cuts and someone sees that allowances in a budget, they may not understand what, you know, these people these people have a salary for them in their ministries, in parliament, they have a salary. On top of the salary, they have allowances. So when someone sees the allowances, they're like, this one we can remove. It's not very important. They're forgetting that for us, that allowance is our salary. We don't have any other salary. That is our allowance that caters for our needs. So Uganda Medical and Dental Practitioners, Uganda Medical Association gave them a proposal that, like it used to be in Obote's regime, where when you finish medical school, the government used to give you a letter, immediately they give you a contract, and you are paid by government through Ministry of Public Service, because in Ministry of Public Service, it is clearly labeled as a salary. It is very hard to cut someone's salary because it's labeled as a salary, and you know government officials all get their money at the end of the month because their salary comes in time. It is very hard for an allowance to come in time. And also the other thing is, the politics. There are people who advocated for removing of that salary from Ministry of Public Service to Ministry of Health. Because this you see, there is a lot of politics that is played here in Uganda. Someone can get actually that allowance, and then they use it as an investment somewhere, and after 3 months it has made profit, they come and give it to us. Because how come it happens year in, year out that they pay the money after 3 months? Why can't they pay it monthly? So those are things we look into, because when you tell them take back the money to Ministry of Public Service, they do not allow people who stamp their feet. They want the money to stay in what? As an allowance in Ministry of Health, which is not fair, because we are employed by government. Why doesn't the money go through public service and we get it every month? So those are questions we keep asking.
Indeed, and we are going to continue asking the relevant questions and discussing the relevant answers to these issues. The challenges that we have spoken about, especially when it comes to medical interns, that have been highlighted greatly over the past couple of years. We've had allowances, unpaid allowances, lack of deployment. But what are the other challenges that may not be greatly highlighted that we need to know about, especially the various stakeholders and Ministry of Health as well, so that in a wholesome way, the interns, medical interns such as yourselves, can be well catered for in our health sector here in Uganda?
Yes, so some of the other challenges we have overworking for very long hours. Someone is on a shift for over 24 hours. So how do you expect their mental health to be? This perturbs our mental health and our well-being as well as we work on these patients. Maybe we could have a structure that caters for us for the working hours to be reduced a little bit. And also the other challenge is, yes, the allowances are there, but why are they always delayed? So we'd like a system, like she said, that pays monthly, such that people get to use their money and also live very well. The other one is about the 30% tax. We also want to request the government to remove that 30% tax, because when you tell someone I'm earning 1.5, they will think that is the net pay you're getting, yet in actual sense you're actually remaining with 1M. So this greatly reduces our allowances and of course also makes us not to get the best of the services. I would have to live in a slum so as to make sure that I budget for this 1M to be able to cater for accommodation, cater for food, for transport, and also for some medical services in case I need to buy some drugs outside the government facility. Yes.
That point of mental health is a very important one. How is it being addressed? Because we have also had many instances, for instance, in schools where mental illness is becoming a problem in terms of depression. We also had a story about how it's also a problem in Parliament. We also had a story about how 14 million Ugandans are fighting mental illnesses. Is it being addressed? Is it something that people are aware is happening when it comes to medical interns?
I think for the medical interns, it hasn't yet been addressed, because year in, year out, we keep having these very long shifts. Because what can you say as an intern? Of course, you have to go under this training. It's mandatory. Whenever you need it, whether you've worked for 48 hours, you need to be at the facility. So per now, I would say the government or the Ministry of Health has not taken an initiative to cater for that issue as far as the medical interns are involved.
Then the other thing to add on, the equipment in hospitals and other requirements that are needed. You see people with the low salary scale, like you saw research published that less than 1% of Ugandans get above 1 million shillings. That is very sad, but yeah, that's where we are. So when people are hearing that we are getting 1.8 as net pay, they feel like for us we are privileged. No, we are not. Imagine you go to hospital, you're getting, yes, your 1.8, but the hospital has no gloves and you have to work on a patient. Definitely you're going to buy gloves so that you have to work on this patient. You do not want to transmit infections, maybe from you to the patient or from the patient to you. So you're saying even this 1.8 I'm getting, I'm using it on buying gloves, on buying masks. Because some of these hospitals, these things get done and they are not provided in time, and you have to give them, you buy them yourself. So part of that, I'm using it to service the people. Then the other thing is equipment, other equipment in hospitals. There are certain procedures we don't even learn in these hospitals because there's no equipment. And as a medical intern, I'm supposed to be 100% equipped to handle any situation and maybe to learn it in that period of 1 year. But then you find the radiology machine is down, so I'm not going to be able to learn to do those things. I know there are radiographers who are supposed to do, but we also, you see, as an MO, a medical officer, you learn everything. You learn everything because you're not a specialist. You learn everything, you learn to do everything, so that in case of scarcity of the specialists, you're able to do everything. But then you go to hospital and those things are not there, or they are broken down, something like that. So those are some of the challenges we face, that we want to give the best healthcare to our patients, but then you don't have the resource or the equipment, the requirements to give the best healthcare. So it's a challenge on our side that the patient may think we are not giving them what they deserve, but then where you are, the situation does not enable you to do that. Yes. It's
interesting that you say that, because on today's Daily Monitor there's a story about how many 40+ machines are not operational when it comes to Morogo National Referral Hospital. But also we did a story here on Church of Uganda Family TV where there's a CT scan machine that was procured by government and delivered to Fort Portal National Referral Hospital, and last year in November. Up to now, there's no one who's operating the machine, which is very strange, and yet people need those services, and then they have to refer people to get a CT scan from Kampala. You can imagine. So those are the things that we are grappling with. So those are important challenges to highlight. Why? Because these challenges, I understand, have led to some medical practitioners saying, why don't we go and practice elsewhere? And then there's a big issue of brain drain, because I know, for instance, there are many countries out there, especially in Europe, that are looking for nurses and medical practitioners from other countries like Uganda. Do you think that there's a risk that we shall have a short-staffed hospitals and medical facilities here in Uganda because of the challenges, for instance, that as medical interns you're going through?
Yes, so actually I will say it's happening, because right now, even among the people who are studying, the medical students, or even among us, the pre-interns, the ones that are going for internship, most of us are like, this system is so hard on us. And you know, most people study these medical courses. Yes, there is passion, and also because they think they can improve the welfare of their backgrounds. Someone who studied in medical school for 4 years because the father sold all their land, and they're expecting this one individual to bring back the money when they get a good job, because they know a nurse or a doctor or a pharmacist will definitely get a good paying job or opportunity. But then here we are, someone has spent almost a year at home and they haven't yet been deployed. They cannot get a good job because why? They don't have a license to practice. So the issue of not putting the health sector always first in Uganda is going to lead to brain drain, because people will look out for other good paying opportunities in other countries, so as to ensure that they also have a good future, of course. And of course they are treating people, but then they are living well. So people will start applying to go to those countries so as to get good money, good welfare, and also to cater for their family needs. So the issue of brain drain will actually happen, and it is actually happening. Also, we shall have instances, because you know people are desperate. We shall have instances where, like for example, if someone here has an opportunity of there is this person linking you to go to USA, to UK, people will surely jump onto it, even if it's scam. And they end up losing their money, they end up being killed. You've had instances recently where there was someone who was scamming people to go to the USA, saying, I'm looking for nurses, I'm taking you to USA, you're getting this and this amount. And people ended up applying, many of them, and applying to those opportunities. You also need to put in something. So people in the health professions end up scamming to such things and also leaving this country. So in the end, the person who is going to be affected is going to be my mother in Masaka, my grandmother in those deep villages, because they'll come to this facility and the skilled people are not there. Why? Because they flied looking for better opportunities. Thank you.
Indeed, and that is something that's very prevalent, and we hope the Ministry of Health will tackle the issue expediently, so that we have medical practitioners who can give healthcare services to patients here in Uganda. What do you think of those who say, well, you're making noise as medical interns, blah blah blah, but you still have why are you putting down your tools as medical interns? For those last year, especially during the industrial action, where some medical interns decided to down their tools. What do you think of those who say, well, you still have a mandate to help protect lives? When someone comes to the hospital and is in need of treatment, they don't know whether you're under an allowance or not. All they know is that they have the right to be treated. So what do you say of those who say, yes, you have to continue because you made an oath to continue to serve people by treating them?
Yes, I made an oath, but I need to live, I need to eat, I need to sleep. If my landlord has chased me from my house, where do you expect me to sleep? And how do you expect me to work on you when I've not eaten? If I don't eat, I can also die. So it's a situation for both of us. I also, if I don't take care of my life, I can't treat you, you can't live. So I have to take care of my welfare to be able to work on you, to be able to help you. So it's a situation that Ugandans have to understand. That's why when we are in these situations, we call upon them to demonstrate with us, because what is affecting me as a doctor is also going to affect them. In the long run, it's coming back to them. So we always call upon them to come with us and demand government to cater for our welfare, so that we can also take care of them. Because if I'm not eating, there is no way I can take care of you, honestly. I'll try to go to another place to get maybe some money to be able to take care of myself. And then some people do it the wrong way. They try to get the money from patients, but you can't blame them. If I've not been paid for 4 months, how do you expect me to take care of myself? Like we said, we are in the hospital 24 hours. We don't have anywhere to go. We are in the hospital 24, because that is how we work, we as medical interns. And she talked about it. It disturbs our mental health. Now it makes it worse if I'm in the hospital 24 hours and then you don't pay me. It is not fair. So Ugandans, I can assure you, you don't expect me to work on you when I have not been given money for my feeding, for my transport, and for my accommodation, because I have nowhere else to get it from. At least if I was working 6 hours a day and I have somewhere to go and part-time, I can do it, because I know maybe when I'm part-timing, I'll get my money to cover up for my accommodation, for my feeding. But me who is spending 24 hours in the hospital and the government is not willing to pay me, it is hard, it is unreasonable, and I'll be lying. I do not want to be a liar as a medical doctor. I would love to speak the truth to you people. So it is not easy for me, and it will not be easy, and it will not be possible. I mean, not even say it will not be easy. It is not possible that I'm going to work on you when I haven't eaten, or I didn't sleep well. That is not possible. It's a lie, and probably I might even kill you on table because I'm trying to do, it's called heroism, medical heroism. So I cannot take part in medical heroism. Yes. All
right, and very quickly, because we have run out of time, the leadership of the Federation of Uganda of Medical Interns, what's happening? When are the elections? Because as we understand, the last leadership carried out its mandate, their term is over, and now who is running the organization, the federation, and when are we going to have elections?
Yes, so apparently the previous leadership finished their internship, and then there is us who are just waiting on when we are starting internship. So apparently there is no clear leadership for the federation, because the previous people finished their interns, and then us who are prospective have also not yet started our internship. So there is no way the federation can conduct elections without having the lists for internship, because it is these lists that will show whether Nankya is a voter, is Judith a voter. You have to be a medical intern for you to be a voter. If you're not yet a voter, a medical intern, sorry, you're not a voter. So apparently we are still dealing on our deployment issues to make sure that first we have those lists and we are deployed into these health facilities, and then secondly we shall go on to the issue of having elections. So currently the people you're seeing that are actually advocating for these pre-interns are those selfless leaders. You know, leadership can be inborn. So when me, Nankya, I see something wrong somewhere, I might not be able to sit comfortably because I know I need to help my people. So they are those leaders that are coming out to say, you know,
now we need to fight for our deployment. Now we need to demand for the lists for deployment. We need to advocate for good welfare. Yes, we've not yet become interns, but then it's affecting us, because if we sit down, we all know what happens in Uganda. Government will also sit down and boom, we shall be in August or December without deployment. So apparently we are first tackling the issue of deployment and good welfare. Then elections, there is no clear date, but as long as we are deployed, then a clear date will come out.
We'll come and wait to see what happens at that end. Hopefully this will be tackled, and that as interns you'll be deployed and the allowances will be paid as well, so that the health sector is up and running, and that patients can get the health services that are required. So thank you so much, Nankya and Dr. Judith, for taking us through the issues that medical interns are facing with. And thank you so much for joining us here on Issues at Hand. We shall return. For now, it's ciao and enjoy the rest of programming here on Church of Uganda Family.